Welcome back to another Casually Hardcore episode. I'm Nick, and today's background gameplay will be Titanfall 2. Now that's also today's topic as well. We're talking about the brand new DLC that is Frontier Defense. Now Frontier Defense is basically a glorified horde mode, kind of like Firefight in Halo, Gears of War, or any type of style game that has multiple waves of enemies that you constantly have to kill with co-op multiplayer people. Now, Titanfall 2, I love the first game. They gotta give some clarity. It was an amazing Xbox One exclusive. Did launch on the 360 and PS3, but it really drove home what the Xbox could do with seamless multiplayer. The second one came out in 2016 to not so great success. Unfortunately, due to Battlefield 1 and the new Call of Duty being released the week prior and the week after, it fell right in between a huge bunch of competition. And for a brand new IP, it couldn't float. Now, however, Titanfall 2 is amazing. The campaign is phenomenal. The multiplayer is ridiculous. There's a ton of new Titans. There's a ton of new camos, and it's all free. Honestly, you can, the microtransactions in this game, that kind of give you some background, is phenomenal. It is the most amazing thing ever because you get to pick and choose what you want to buy, and then everything else is free. So just to kind of give some clarity, these devs are awesome. Respawn's amazing. I'll always be a fanboy because of their work they did back in the old Call of Duty days before they became Respawn, back when they worked at Infinity Ward. But today, those aren't the topics as much as I'd love to talk about them. We're going to talk about Frontier Defense. Now, for people out there that have played, the firefight modes and the horde modes, you're going to be right at home. There isn't really much in terms of formula that's different from those two other game modes. However, what Titanfall's spin on it is that most of those game modes are separate. So when you play Firefight, you only have Firefight challenges, and those kills go to Firefight challenge, points. In this game mode, those pesky challenges in the multiplayer front also carry over to Frontier Defense. So like for instance, you see my red camo on my assault rifle here, that requires a decent amount of headshots. Headshots on multiplayer characters and in-game players, that's hard. However, in this game mode, AI is a little bit easier to get headshots, so gun camos are easier to get. You get better stats, you level up faster. It's a great way for people that aren't very good in PvP to really show off in PvE. It's something that was kind of missing in the first game. I think Frontier Defense was added towards the end. I'm not too sure. To be quite honest, I love the first game, but I didn't really see it through towards the ending days. Just do a lot of content coming out after the game had launched. But doesn't mean I'm not going to play the second one here now. And also, one of the really cool aspects of this game mode is the fact that it's always changing up the waves of enemies. Each map that you play has different style of enemies, has different style of tactics, has different style of waves. So in the first couple waves you're going to play, you're going to have your standard grunts, like how you see here killing on screen. You have your standard mechs that kind of come over time and then you have your giant titans that get launched over rounds as they go around. Obviously wave 1 is the easiest, with wave 5 being the hardest. However, the really tricky part is you can't predict what enemies are going to come in until it is announced before that wave. And most of these other style of games, you typically kind of have an understanding of what the rhythm is and formula. It's like Gears of War, wave 1, it's these type of enemies, wave 2, etc., wave 3, wave 4, and you can kind of strategically analyze what you can kind of, or you're going to go up against, you can kind of face. Now, the also cool part too about this style of Titanfall Defense, you get Titans. So not only do you get yourself as a player, you get your Titan as well. So there's my Titan down there below, kind of having an auto Titan, which is another cool feature of this game that will kind of defend us as we're going through the armory. Now, leading into that point is also kind of a negative. There isn't much in terms of expansion of the armory. It's relatively weak. You have 6 items. One of them is a turret, which I use a lot. One of them is a trap as well. It's okay. It's not the best in the world. And some other things are you can fix a friend's Titan with a battery. I mean, creatively, it's not that amazing. It honestly feels like they kind of did check boxes. Okay, we have health recovery. We have tower defense check mark. We have item that drains health check. It wasn't anything really innovative at all. Now, this mode, I don't truly believe was made to be innovated. I really feel like it was created and brought to life in Titanfall 2 as a way to expand the gameplay in different ways not possible before, especially considering AI is a big part of what the Titanfall franchise is, including in multiplayer. And it gives players a new way to kind of experience the taste of cooperative play, considering the campaign in this game actually is single player versus the campaign. The first game was actually multiplayer based, which was really cool. But it allows players to kind of get that taste of Titanfall 1 and then kind of a smaller area as well. Now that you kind of got some background on what this mode is, what are some good things and bad things. We can kind of talk about the enemies and what you face in them. In the enemies itself, they're pretty linear. You have your grunts from both sides. You have your specters. You have the Imagine droids. If you haven't played Titanfall 1 or 2, it's like a battle droid from Star Wars. That's essentially what it is. You have your stalkers, which you're kind of seeing here in the left, kind of small and things that blow up. And then you have these little mini mechs. The name will pop up as we're playing around. That's actually up here, the Reaper. You have those that fight around, and then you have your major titans. Those are really it. So in terms of variety of enemy type, there isn't much. And the titans, you might say, oh, there's different types of titans. Well, once you learn those titans, what they are, there's not much. You have the titan that I'm using, which is a standard infantry one. You have the one over there, which is, it's the ground pound one. It's okay. And then you have like the nuclear mech, which I'm sure you'll see here later on in the gameplay, that once you kill it, it actually explodes. So it just kind of really depends on what map you're playing and what AI drop. Once you kind of figure out what the overall spread of AI per map are, you can kind of map out what strategies to take on and what to actually do. So kind of like this Titan here, it's alright, it's more of a weaker one. Obviously we're still in wave 2, so enemies aren't as badass. However, this game mode's relatively easy. Obviously there's 4 different modes. You have casual, normal, hard, and veteran, I believe are the 4. I'm currently playing on the 3rd hardest one. But it really just kind of depends on what you're doing, to be quite honest. I'm pretty much really skilled in what horde mode is. I kind of know what to do, what not to do, so I'm relatively familiar to it. However, for somebody that's not experienced in types of game modes, I relatively recommend, especially if you're not a Titanfall vet, to play either the easy or normal to kind of get familiarized with what's going on, because as the waves increase, it does get extremely harder. In terms of what you can bring over from the multiplayer into Frontier Defense, everything's streamlined over. Every gun, every perk, everything is all available in there as well. You can kind of watch the assassination, it's really cool. But basically, everything is kind of carried over. The only difference is that instead of fighting, manual players, you're fighting AI. Kind of some comments on that part too is that this game mode does get kind of stale. Titanfall 2 is a very fast-paced game, and this game mode is very slow. Because basically enemies get funneled into certain areas because these maps were made for multiplayer and this game mode was an afterthought. So a lot of these maps currently that launch with this mode don't really fit very well with what the game mode's trying to progress. You can basically trap enemies into 3, like this map in particular, there's 3 lanes, and you basically can weed those 3 enemies down these lanes, set up turrets, set up traps, and then basically have 1 to 2 players per lane and destroy it. It's kind of like League of Legends in the term of lanes. The cool thing about what you're trying to do here, though, is you can see there in the background is that giant blue tower. That's basically your home base, and that's what you're defending this entire game. Now, obviously, from our gameplay, we're basically on the offensive the entire time, but typically in higher modes, as enemies kind of progress, you'll start kind of going towards defending more than assaulting. It's typically what you do. So that's kind of the difference too with other firefight modes. Typically it's you fight till you die. This one is you fight until wave 5. Once it's done, you've just beaten the mission, etc. And that's it. Now another cheap thing as well that I've only experienced, I haven't played anything harder besides veteran, is that you actually respawn. In Halo and Firefight, you have a certain amount of lives. Once you lose those lives, it's over. Gears of War, I believe it's in the same stance as well. In other firefight modes, is that the lives are a big part of the challenge, because once you die, you can't respawn until either the round's over or you can't respawn, period. So it's kind of cheap in that sense, because you can literally go around running around knowing that if your other teammates are alive, you can go Rambo style, and especially a game as fast as this, going Rambo style is particularly what you do. I will say that, it's still a fun mode. It's a ton of fun. It's really exciting, especially if you're a Titanfall 2 fan. Getting more free content doesn't ever hurt. These developers have been amazing. Respawn has been an incredible developer supporting this game for a very long time. Now, in terms of modes, I believe they have stated that this is the last really big content update in terms of a brand new mode specifically made for it. But maps, guns, anything, I think older assets from the first game as well will continue to be a part of this game series, and I'm really looking forward to the next content and what they have to update. So once again, this is Nick. Thank you for joining me on what my thoughts are, my impressions of the Titanfall 2's Frontier DLC, and we'll catch you again on the next episode. Thanks, guys.